Okay, this is White Violin video number 4. Well, the last time, in my last video, I had showed you that I had stained the violin, and then when I left you, the violin needed to dry, so it's been drying for 4 days, several days. And also, you can't French polish, at least I can't. You can't French polish directly on stain because shellac, which is what you use to French polish, is like 99% alcohol, denatured alcohol. So it would lift the stain. So you have to seal the stain with something that the alcohol from the French polish won't immediately lift up. So it's taking me actually a couple of years and many trial and errors to find a product. I didn't invent anything. I just found a product that I can get at your local hardware store. It's very thin. It goes on stain, and the shellac can go on it, and it seals the stain, preventing it from coming up. So when you're done with the violin, you can French polish it. It ends up looking like this, nice and shiny. This is a different one of my other ones. So I can French polish over the top of the stain and make it nice looking, nice and shiny. So this is my French polish kit. This is alcohol and shellac. This is the shellac. This is, there's a little bit of olive oil left in there. And this is denatured alcohol. This is shellac with alcohol. And this is just the shellac. This is a little not so concentrated, or it's more concentrated, not so diluted. So, oops, I forgot, I gotta put a glove on. You want to, I work in the nursing area, and somebody gave me a pair of gloves, just regular latex, if you can use latex or whatever, because the shellac will stain your hands a little bit. Now, last night, I just started to French polish this. So it doesn't look too bad right now, but it's still not quite as shiny as it's going to be when I'm done with it. What I did to prepare it for this point is I actually wet sanded the wood. No, I sealed the stain first, and then I had to wet sand it to make it literally velvety soft. And then you start to French polish. And French polishing, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this so you can watch. Let me push this in here a little bit more. Okay. But you have to, first of all, you have a wad in your rag. It's best to use linen, but sometimes linen's hard. Linen is hard to come by. So cotton works. Like a t-shirt, an old t-shirt, just a square piece of that, about 8 inches square. You take 2 of those, wad one up, put it inside the other one, And then if you know how to French polish, you'll know how to get to this point. But once you've got it here, you don't want it real wet when you touch something. Your hand, you don't want it super wet. You just want it just barely leaving a mark on your hand or whatever. And then I don't have a way to bring this down a little bit more here, but it doesn't look like it's gonna. Well, okay. You have to go around in the groove, because that little groove along the edge, it will get real cloudy inside that groove. If you don't get your rag right into that groove. Now sometimes, every time I do this, and I've been doing this for a couple years, every time I do this, it's different. Sometimes if you find that your rag is a little bit too moist, as you're going over it, it'll start to get a little bit sticky. That's when you put literally 1 drop of olive oil, and you just kind of spread that out and then keep going. And after a short while, the olive oil will dissipate. But I've learned that lately I haven't had to use really any olive oil. Maybe it's just my technique is improving. Can't see this. But you can't stop. You see how I'm kind of doing a figure 8? When you're French polishing, you can't just go back and forth like this, because when you get to the end to come back, you actually have to stop to come back. And when you stop, just for that split second, you leave an imprint of the cloth. So what I'm doing is, you'll see here, kind of a figure 8. So it's actually never stopping on the surface. After doing it for a while, you get used to it and you learn. And you can do circular motions. You got to go around in that groove, right in that groove. And the groove that I'm talking about, on the edge of a violin, it's like a lip. It curves up. Well, that little dip right along the edge here, if I French polish right off the edge, right in that dip, the rag doesn't touch quite as hard, and it leaves a cloudy area. So you've got to literally get the rag, get a tight spot right in that little ridge, all the way around, right in that groove. And then sometimes I also have to, right where these points are, sometimes I notice it'll start to get a little cloudy right in there. So clean those tips up real good. There we go, much better. Okay, and we just keep going. Right now. Okay. It's not by any means done yet, but it's getting there. I'm going to stop recording now, and then I'm going to work on this, go all the way around. I'm just recording from my cell phone, so it's not that great of a recording job. I've already recorded 11.5 minutes.